Don't you worry, the clip's about to begin, but don't forget to subscribe. Or else. Don't make me turn this website around.
Keith in Florida, thanks for waiting. You are on with Matt and Andrew. How can we help?
Hi, Keith.
Hello, Matt and Andrew. How you guys doing today?
Mixed bag. I'm glad to be here. You actually messaged me about this question, didn't you?
I don't think I did, actually. I've been waiting for a call with one of the Andrews to come around so I could ask about it.
Yeah, somebody today asked me the same question. So go ahead and ask, because it's for Andrew, and I will patiently await the answer. Also, one last thing, Keith. I apologize. I apologize because Objectively Dan, who hosts Truth Wanted on Friday, is in the chat attempting to taunt me, but he's a moderator. But I want to remind people that you can go watch Truth Wanted on Friday night. So please continue, Keith.
All right, yeah. So I believe it was either you, Andrew Seidel, or maybe it was Andrew Torres, talking about abolishing the Electoral College, and added on the statement that we should abolish the Senate. I was talking with my roommate about this, and I thought of an interesting question, which was just, if we abolish the Senate, do we run into a danger of the president becoming basically a puppet to the Congress, because the Congress can now just impeach him without any challenge?
So we can broaden your question a little bit, right? I mean, that's a fairly specific question. I think you're essentially asking, is the Senate worth retaining as a good check or balance against the House and maybe against the presidency, right? So remember, our system's set up as checks and balances. So you have three different branches of government. They are supposed to operate as checks and balances on each other. Within the legislative branch, you have a divided House, and that's supposed to operate as checks against each other. Really, it's actually meant to more slow the process down, and to really make it more difficult to pass laws, which is an interesting way to think about governing. If you were to, let me say it like this, if you were to actually get to the point where you could abolish the Senate, you would have to do some retooling on other areas of the Constitution that you would want to think about. I mean, I don't know how much of a check the divided House is right now on impeachment. It seems like it because we've gone through impeachment twice, and you had the House voting for it barely in both cases, and then the Senate not, and then saying, well, we're not going to take this up yet. And it, everybody's trying to do the head count on the Senate right now. I mean, but what if there wasn't that divided? What if that division didn't exist? Would the political calculus have been the same at the outset? So I think it's too hard to predict, but I would say you're right to wonder, would that take away an important check on the House running rampant? And maybe it would. Maybe we want to talk about extending House tenure to 3 years or something like that, or looking at other possible ways to ameliorate the underlying concern that you have. Does that make sense, Keith? I feel like I didn't quite answer your question, but I thought I was trying to get at the spirit of the question anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, you got my question right on, which is really just with the House and the Senate being able to balance each other and make sure that neither have too much power. Getting rid of one of them, would that give too much control over our government? I mean, it would have been really nice if we could have just ousted Trump with the House, but what if we got an all Republican House, all super conservative white nationalist House?
Yeah.
I think that'd be something to be concerned about.
Sure, but that means it's true either way. So just in the same way that we control both the House and the Senate right now, what if we controlled 75 of the Senate seats? What if that was the Democrats and the Republicans? So there's a false premise hidden in here that I think is people generally are like, oh, maybe we should stick with like some roadblocks. Like we'll have some democratically controlled things and some Republican controlled things so that no side goes too far. And that I understand the desire for that. But what if one side is actually focused on doing good and making the world better, and the other side is not?
I mean, but I think, right, there is a good point to be made where you do want a government that has checks on its power. And I think conceiving of the Senate as a check on the House's power and vice versa is correct. And it's partly what the founders envisioned, partly what they envisioned for the two bodies. But you can put checks in other ways. So, for instance, your particular concern is, well, what if the House would just then impeach the president? Okay, well, while we're editing the Senate out of the Constitution and amending it, let's say that you have to bump the impeachment up to 80% of members of the House to make that work. That would then, that's a way to address your concern that still lets you get rid of a body that is inherently anti-democratic, small d democratic.
There's a lot of different ways to fix it.
Yeah.
The other question that came in, I'm going to go and let you go, Keith. Thank you very much, because there was another question related to this. So you want to hang up on us, or should we hang up on you?
Well, actually, I hung up on you last time I called in, so can I get a really strong note?
No, you're done. There you go.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Keith. The question that Keith didn't ask the exact same questions. There was somebody else who asked a question about getting rid of the Senate and whether or not, not whether or not that would expand the ability to impeach, but whether or not that would, how we would correct for the power of the states, because specific things are attributed to the states. And so all of a sudden, if you banish the Senate, how would you make sure that the states are fairly represented as 50 individual states? And my answer has always been, I don't give a shit, because I'm not that fond of states' rights. I'd like us to be more united than states, but.
Yeah, I mean, that's a core tenet of our Constitution is federalism, and that is one of the, I guess I'll use the word spirit again, spirits that the founding fathers tried to imbue the Senate with, and I think that is in some ways inherently anti-democratic, right? Like a state doesn't represent the popular will of the country. It represents the popular will of arbitrary geopolitical region. So, I mean, I think there's a lot to be said for revisiting that as a national ethos or as a constitutional ethos, federalism, that is, right? Like, I mean, think back to when the Constitution was drafted. I mean, the states were previously colonies. I mean, they were individual nation states to a certain extent. The Articles of Confederation made us something that would be more closely akin to the European Union today. And you can even see the European Union's moving more and more towards a more unified body. And that's what was happening with the United States, and especially after the Civil War with 13th and the 14th Amendment, you see us moving away from the power of the states and giving more power to the people. And I think that, like, you kind of can't go wrong with giving power to the people.
Although I've seen some of the people who voted, and I'm not as confident as you are, but I share your optimism.
Hey, thanks for checking out this clip for The Line. While you're here, hit that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and then share this with that bitter uncle of yours who loves talking about the good old days.